Welcome back, everyone. So I thought I would take a quick look at Sisay Weatherlight Captain. This is my legendary Blades deck, and I'm gonna add the companion to it, Jegantha. So we'll slot that in over here. Jegantha does say, as part of its companion requirement, that we can't have double mana symbols of any card in the deck. So I started looking through this a little bit earlier, and I was curious about which cards I would have to cut. And there's some interesting ones. It's not too many, and some of them are definitely replaceable, but there's one or two that aren't, and those are definitely going to hurt. First up, we see Pure Steel Paladins, gotta go. Pure Steel Paladin is a great source of card draw, and the free equips are really good for this deck. I don't have one in paper, and I've been running without it, but it really does help the deck a lot. So that's got to go. We got to get rid of Boa Nylea, which is unfortunate. That helps us recycle stuff. I don't use it all the time, but I've had some games where it does come up and be really impactful. We got to get rid of Glissa. I really like Glissa. Glissa provides good colors and does give us an easy way to get artifacts back, which probably means I'm going to add Tiana back into the deck as kind of another way to get artifacts back in case they all get blown up. Usually I just go straight for Shroom, but it is nice to have some redundancy in that department. The bow, there's some jankier things that we could use. There's a creature that shuffles them back to the bottom, and there's the lantern thing out of Kamigawa that does it. I don't know if those are doing enough for me by themselves. Probably just add a Mistveil Plains in that spot, honestly, and let Mistveil do the work. Nope, we've already got it. Cool. So moving on to the 4 slot. We've got Bear Umbra, which is actually really good, but it's going to have to go. One Sith Killer of Kings, I'm a little sad to part with. It's not amazing. However, the 3 colors and the +3/+3 can add potentially 6 power to Sisay, which is really good. But it's not the first thing that I tutor for. It's other effects. Other than giving Sisay size and being an interesting equipment, it doesn't do that much in the deck, so that one's going to go. We got some removal that we should be able to easily replace. That's Fumigate, Rout, and Austere Command. What we're replacing that with, I'm not entirely sure. I think I'm going to go for like a Rolling Earthquake. It hits all creatures, deals damage to players, which I like. And the fact that our stuff's going to be indestructible a lot of the time, we can dodge the damage that'll be doing, I think I really like. I don't have one in paper, but I think I'm just going to add Toxic Deluge. It's not the best because it is going to hit our stuff, and the indestructible things that we go for aren't going to get around it, but it is just a good piece of removal to have, so maybe I'll go Volcanic Offering. I know it's not like the best thing ever. It's not a true board wipe, but it doesn't blow up our stuff, which I like, and it gets rid of lands. It does a lot of nice things. Without looking through like every piece of removal off the top of my head to, replace that with. Seems fine. Stonehewer Giant is one that's gonna hurt. Stonehewer is one of the best equipment finders out there. Like if you're building an equipment deck on a budget, I would say Stonehewer Giant long before you go for Stoneforge Mystic. For like $8 or so in paper, Stonehewer Giant just does so much. That one's gonna hurt a bit because that one's actually way more mana efficient than using Sisay. Using Sisay's 5 ability is pretty expensive, so that one I'm not a fan of. That's going to hurt a bit. And we get into a couple more things that are also going to hurt. Imbolus's Clutches is a really nice piece of interaction that we're going to have to give up on. Being able to tutor that out at instant speed and just gain control of something stops big attacks. It deals with planeswalkers that are getting out of control. It can solve just a lot of different problems is really nice. And then the one that I think is really going to hurt is Embercleave. So Double Strike and Trample is generally how you win the game. That's how Sisay pushes through for a lot of damage. And, this is the one that everything else I could live with in some sense. Like I can kind of cover up for. There isn't really a great replacement for Embercleave that's all in one card. Everything else is going to take multiple cards to simulate that type of effect. So, yeah, can't say I'm going to love that one, but what I'm really interested in seeing is if, the upside of having the companion is worth the downside of I can't run all of the cards that I want to run. So it's definitely a trade-off. The companion's going to need to be very powerful to offset that. Now, I think it is. It makes 5 mana. It can't be used for generic, which is, actually a decent part of the deck. But reducing the colors of all of our stuff is a pretty big deal. This deck is super mana hungry. Any way that you can generate more mana is always going to be good. Now, the mana curve of this deck is already looking way healthier than it's ever been, because we cut a lot of 6-drops, but what sort of stuff do we need to slot back in? I'm probably just going to go to things that I've used in the past. Someone did tell me, Champion Athune, Patreon supporter of mine, did tell me that haste is a really big deal with Jegantha. So let's get a little haste in the deck. Thinking some Greaves. Maybe we go Swifties. Yeah, for this deck, probably Greaves or Swifties. We'll go Greaves. There's usually enough creatures running around the deck that I think we can move things around as needed. Add a Tiana back in. Gonna add Tatiova to the deck. I've been messing with it. It hasn't come up a ton, but it is just a nice source of card draw. Some life gain, which are both really good. Another thing I'm going to add is a 1,000-year elixir. Gives haste, also allows us to untap our creatures, which is going to be good with Fabro Elder and Jegantha. Maybe we add a Somberwald. Should we add a Somberwald stage to the deck? Should probably add... yeah. I know they're really expensive in paper, but I'm curious to try it out. We'll try Bloom Tender. I think after the reprinting in... What was the thing? Mythic Booster or something? I think those are around 25, but I can't remember. I know we're removal light at this point. Oh, you know what we should add? We should add Manamo, I think. Untap target legendary creature, and it's a legendary land, so we can tutor for it. All seems very good. This deck could be made to be much stronger, much faster, but I've kind of kept it in the generally casual range. But I have some concerns that Jegantha may push it well out of casual. It may speed it up so much that, like, this may just walk all over other casual decks anyway. And it does perform well against casual decks already because, you know, Sisay's ability to just tutor things out of the command zone is really powerful. So even when you're playing bad equipments like I am, it's still just very, very good. I think I'll go for a Stoneforge Mystic. It is nice to hit Sword of the Animist early. I feel like we need something big. Probably a 6-drop. We did cut a lot of 6-drops. Would like something with just a little bit of oomph to it. Preferably legendary. Muldrotha will be a nice add, I think, so bring Muldrotha back in. Maybe it's true that I've cut too much removal from the deck. Oh, what's that new Mutate card? Does it have a double cost in it? It does, doesn't it? Oh, they must have done that on purpose. All the Mutate cards have a double cost in them, so I don't think you can run Jegantha with them. But I was thinking about Snap decks just because, yeah, it's a 3/5 with double strike, and that seems pretty good. What about Oketra? Oketra is just a nice card to have around. Question is, are we going to have 3 other creatures? It's only one color. It's a little bit limiting. Now cut this Kiora, and I think that needs to be a removal slot. Decimate? Yeah, maybe we go Decimate. It's a pretty nasty card. Well, let's try it. Alright, so yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to film this little bit right here and kind of get a feel on what it's like adding some of the companions to the deck and, you know, kind of asking that question of, is it worth it to cut a bunch of things that you probably wanted in order to have the companion? And I don't know. I'm going to test it out and see what happens, so make sure you stay tuned for the gameplay video and we'll find out what happens.